panel discussion on electrical safety regulations. So all of you are aware that how today's proceedings are going on is we have a list of speakers for our two programs. Unfortunately, two of them cannot join today. We have Shri Appavoo sir, retired Chief Electrical Inspector from Government of Tamil Nadu. We have Devdas Goswami ji. He is the senior consultant for senior advisor to International Copper Association, also retired from Bureau of Indian Standards, Government of India. We have Hemant Sali ji. He is the retired superintending engineer in charge at PWD Inspectorate wing in Government of Maharashtra. We also have Shri Khoja sir. He has retired recently from Gujarat as the deputy additional chief electrical inspector in charge of as chief electrical inspector for several decades. So welcome all of you. Today's program is made in such a way that we have during the registration we have got a lot of inputs from the participants or the registrants. We took few of the questions and we will make a small introduction about the program or about the new regulation. After the introduction of the new regulation, we will go for the question answer session or the actual panel discussion. To start with, I will make a very small or a quick introduction about Vidyut Surakshit Bharat Abhiyan. Plus, we will go for the short introduction about the regulation. With your permission, may I start, sir? Appavoo, sir? Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sali ji. Thank you. So, Vidyut Surakshit Bharat Abhiyan, we started last year during July 2022, 2021. We completed actually more than 100 programs now. The program is organized by CISA. CISA is an NGO, and one of the main activity of CISA is a regional center for expertise for education on sustainable development. It's approved by United Nations University. So basically, the classes which we are taking is having certain validity with respect to the sustainable development goals. CISA is always doing a lot of science-based activities, and one of the activity which we took up is the electrical safety. We also have we selected this program because you are aware that the number of accidents in our country are much higher than several other nations, especially fire and electrocution. These presentations we used to show you at several occasions, so you know very well that the electrical safety situation in India, the Japanese study, which they say approximately 723 people got electrocuted out of 100 million population per annum. In India, in comparison to the other nations, it's quite huge. Also, the safety score received for India in comparison to the other G20 nations are extremely low. We have selected a few training subjects such as earthing, basic design criteria of low voltage electrical installation, inspection and testing of the electrical installation, solar PV installations, then the lightning protection, SPDs. Like that, we have selected about 7 subjects initially, but then later the subject of earthing has been increased from part 1 to part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It went up to 5 or 6. That means about 10 hours classes we took during on earthing. Also, we one moment, there is a small power cut. Once when there is a power cut, my file, I will make a small arrangement, please. Now it's coming. Hope my screen is visible again. Are you able to see my full screen or two screens, two slides in one screen?
Two slides.
Okay. Okay, now only one slide in the screen.
Yeah, that's okay, fine.
Okay, sir. So these subjects, these are actually, these trainings are not to promote any products or things like that. We were purely talking what is written in the standard, how to read it, how to interpret it, and how to understand the subject. Actually, the program, it went very well. We conducted several rounds of technical trainings. We also did special projects or special programs such as the lightning protection special 4 programs, the last 4 programs done by Professor Nagbhushana, which went very well. We have a list of experts supporting us, starting with Shri Appavoo, Shri James Kuti, Shri Nagdio, sorry, Mr. Saliji's photo is missing, Shri Saliji, Mr. P.K. Patnaik from OPTCL, Devdas Goswami ji, Mr. N.K. Mittal and Mr. Srinivas, they were actually technically supporting for these programs. We also made some programs with respect to lightning safety. Not only programs, we made a blog and we included a lot of subjects or a lot of information into this. The lightning protection activity of CISA is not new. We were doing this since 2009. 2004. We conducted hundreds of awareness programs on lightning, and we have a center called as LARC, Lightning Awareness and Research Center, based out of Trivandrum. Unfortunately, last 2 years or last 3-4 years, since 2016 onwards, our focus had changed from lightning to electrical safety. As a result, what happened is later we found out that it was a mistake. A lot of people started taking classes or awareness on lightning protection, but on a wrong way. For example, somebody was promoting cycle tire lightning protection and all. Anyway, that is not today's talk. We also have a group of experts in lightning protection, and we have a big group of international experts, world reputed experts supporting this program. We have made the website, and on the website, if you look at the right side, you can see the blog. On the blog, we are putting a lot of data. Please go through the data. You will get a lot of information about our activities. The program is supported by BIS, also by CEA and several other organizations. We are updating the data and videos regularly in our WhatsApp and in our LinkedIn and Facebook accounts. You can also download these videos from those parts. So this is about with the Surakshit Bharat Abhiyan. Now let me make a small introduction about the regulations, the new regulations. Please excuse me for a moment. Now the electricity is back. My second screen is working. So I'm trying to explain about the new regulation in comparison with the old regulation. We start with the introduction. What is Electricity Act? The CEA measures relating to safety and electric supply regulations, the role of code of practices of BIS and the product standards by BIS. However, this will be a question, and Shri Appavoo will reply this after this introductory speech. He will also explain what is this IE rule and how the new systems are in place. So if we look at the accidents in our the accident statistics, approximately 55% happens on the low voltage, 11 kV or the distribution, about 43%, and above 33 kV, it is about 2%. So approximately it is like this. See here, the value is a little bit plus or minus 1 or 2, 3% plus or minus is not an issue. But what you should understand is majority of our accidents are happening in the 11 kV, 22 kV, 33 or the low voltage distribution. About 55% is happening within the consumer premise. So once when you start using electricity, that is the consumer premise, there you have 55% accidents and about 43 in the distribution, extra high voltage 2%. So our program, we are mainly focusing on these two areas, which is major threat. Out of these two areas, of course, in the distribution, expertise is available with the distribution companies, so we don't need to focus more because they are the experts. So whereas our main focus is towards the consumer premise. Now, the background of the measures relating to safety and electric supply regulations, it is based on the Electricity Act 2003, Section 53. The Parliament of India is giving assurance to all the citizens that the authority, means the Central Electricity Authority, will make measures relating to safety and electric supply regulations, which will be the rule or regulation which need to be followed for across the country. Also, the Section 177 says not only this regulation, there are several regulations made by the authority. Authority means the the Central Electricity Authority. The grid standard, measures relating to safety and electric supply and all. Our discussion is on measures relating to safety and electric supply. But in this case, you should understand one subject which is very serious. The Section 146 of the Electricity Act. Please note that Electricity Act covers so many subjects. Out of that, the responsibility of making safety regulations are given to CEA. So CEA has to make the regulation. Now 146 talks about punishment for non-compliance of orders and directions. Very important. Imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 months. I will explain how this is applicable in one of my slides at the end of the presentation. Imprisonment, if you don't follow the rules and regulations, imprisonment is 3 months, a fine of 1 lakh rupees for each offense. If you continue the offense again and again, rupees 5,000 per day. This is the penalty which is included in the Electricity Act. That means, in case of negligence of the electricity distribution company, technically speaking, the officers of the electricity distribution company, not the lineman or the junior people, the management has to be these penalties actually has to be put on them. We will explain it later. Now, contents of the regulation. The 2010 regulation, it consists of chapter 1 to chapter 9 up to regulation 115. Also something more in the new regulation. On the right side, what you are seeing is the new regulation, chapter 1, chapter 2. Almost the chapters are following same way, but there are some additional requirements. The additional requirements were actually from the amendments which were made during or after 2010 until 2019. Amendment 1, Regulation 5, 5A, 32 and all. Amendment 2, Amendment 3. Now, all these amendments are included in the main regulation. As a result, what happens is the number of regulations had increased. If we look at the chapter 3, 4 and all, there is a confusion probably in the numbering between the old regulation and the new regulation. Anyway, not a big issue, but we will discuss it later. One of the main change which is going to come, or one of the main improvement which is going to come is a kind of a clear definition of voltage. In definition 92, you can see this. Low voltage, anything up to 1 kV AC and 1500 volt DC, 1.5 kV DC. Of course, this need to be changed to 1000 volt AC and 1500 volt DC. Then medium voltage 1 kV and 33 kV, up to 33 kV, high voltage 33 and 150, extra high voltage above 150. So you must be surprised that earlier we were calling anything above 33 as extra high voltage, and how come this came into picture. There is a small background behind it. I hope it is due to that particular background. The definitions of voltage were not clear in our regulations and these standards. Yes, of course, the IE rule 1956 had some definitions which has been removed in the CEA regulation 2010. After that, there were no clear regulation on the voltage definitions. I'm just showing you some of the standards which we are referring this particular subject. The IS 17036, it is talking about, you can see these values. High voltage is 33 to 150 kV. Then 1 kV to 33 kV is medium voltage and so on. This is one of the latest IS code which is made for distribution system power quality. If we look at the IEV, International Electrotechnical Vocabulary, which is nothing but the online platform of ISO and IEC, here the voltage has got only two definitions. LV means less than 1000 volt, HV means anything more than 1000 volt. The IEC 6, one moment, again I have a small power cut. Yeah, I hope the full screen you are able to see.
It's with 2 slides.
Okay, one moment, sir. One moment. Because on Saturday, sometimes it's a little bit risky. Hope this time it's showing only one screen.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, sir. Now the IEC 61036, this is talking some other definitions. Another IEC standard is talking about some other standards. Of course, in the IEC level, all these definitions have been changed to two levels, less than 1 kV and higher than 1 kV. If we look at the IS 12360, these are talking about the voltage band, but no definition for each band has been given. The Electricity Act says high voltage line, there are some definitions. IE rule has got some other definitions for low voltage, medium voltage, high voltage, extra high voltage. So this anyway is not applicable because the IE rule has been already removed or replaced with CEA regulation. CEA, the technical standards for construction regulation, mentioned as auxiliary voltage or control voltage, 1.1 kV power and medium voltage, or power and medium voltage above 1.1 kV up to 66 kV. So basically, if we look at our rules and regulations, there are so many definitions. Nowhere it is clear which people need to follow. As a result, what happens is a total confusion. For example, the electricity regulatory commissions of the state governments, for example, Delhi, DERC, they say according to them, low tension is, remember, tension and voltage is same. Low tension is single phase 230 volt, three phase 400 volt. High tension is three phase 11 kV. EHT is three phase 33 or 66 kV. If we look at Madhya Pradesh, they say almost probably similar to Delhi. If we look at Kerala, you will have a different kind of voltage. If you look at Tamil Nadu, you will have a different kind of voltage. Karnataka, again a different kind of voltage. Maharashtra, another kind of voltage. So each of the state regulator is using a different voltage. Actually, one country should follow only one rule or only one voltage band or voltage definition. So in the upcoming National Electrical Code, in clause number 3.12, we considered this, which is taken from the IS 17036 2018, because this standard has been made where the members from Central Electricity Authority and all the top leading organizations in India are present. So this standard is becoming common for them. So the same definitions are being taken in the NEC. ELV up to 1000 volt AC, 1500 volt DC. Medium voltage 1 kV up to 33 kV. High tension or high voltage 33 to 150 kV, and anything above 150 is EHV. The same definition has been taken in the CEA up in the draft. So except this small correction, 1 kV, it need a small change, 1000 volt AC. So probably the question which people are going to ask is, earlier we were calling above 33 kV as EHV, but what is going to happen to that EHV? Of course, then in future, slowly, probably, if this standard, if the regulation is final, then we have to change the name a little bit. In the regulation, what is very much important for us is the 650 volt, which has been followed for several decades. From the IE rule onwards, it has been changed to 1000 volt AC. So you cannot see any more 650 volt in the regulation. Of course, 650 volt is still appearing in a few of the places. Probably this is by mistake in regulation 37. In few places, 5-6 places it's coming, but I think it will be changed to 1000 volt. Probably a typographical error. There are two changes in the, if we start from the first 3-4 chapters. The 6, a new number has been given to Chartered Electrical Safety Engineer. Number 9, this is a new regulation, safety measures for operating and maintenance of load dispatch center. And in regulation 75, this is also anti-clamping device. This is also a little bit new. So few new standards or few new regulations also is coming up. Now, the regulation 33, I'm just showing you the regulation 33, but before that, one moment. Yeah, the regulation 33. I'm just trying to explain you some changes which is going to, which is included in the regulation. Regulation 33, testing of consumers installation. Here in the para 2, provided that recommended testing and verification as per IS 732, National Electrical or National Electric Code, wherever applicable, shall be carried out. Please make a note of this. This is an important change. So this means that for all the safety audits carried out in industries or the initial verification, you are supposed to follow the recommendations as per the National Electrical Code or the IS 732. In NEC, the upcoming NEC, LV as well as high voltage testings are going to come up. Here, the regulation, you see sub-regulation 2, supplier shall maintain a record of test result obtained in the schedule 3. Actually, here the schedule 3 is not enough for doing a safety audit, because in IS 732 or the NEC, detailed formats are given. Probably if the regulation write instead of schedule 3, formats as per IS 732/NEC would be better. What is this regulations, or what is this? How does IS 732 came into picture? You must understand that worldwide for low voltage or safety in consumer premise, especially low voltage. The safety regulations are made by 60364. Actually, 60364 Part 1, Section 3 is a guidance for the national regulator of a WTO member country or TBT agreed country to formulate their national regulation. So 60364 has been adopted as national regulation, for example, in America as NEC, NFPA 70. Britain, the same document is used as BS 7671. In Germany, the same document is used. In France or in almost all the European nations, the same 60364 or its adopted versions are used as national regulation for electrical safety. In India, the same regulation, the same 60364 has been adopted as IS 732 in recently 2019 and the upcoming NEC. So this standard talks about design, erection, and testing. So to make it simple, please understand that globally the same regulations are used for safety in a consumer premise. We don't need to go to the American standard, British standard, or German standard. Simply use the Indian standard. You can find out the information about this NFPA 70 and the IEC in the NEMA or on the UL websites. Here I have put the link. If somebody want, I can give it later. Now, why I stress this is you don't need to go to the American standard or the British standard. This is very important. Now I will go a little bit out of the context and explain you how a rule and regulation can influence the final safety in an electrical installation. What I am showing you in the screen is a tender specification from Chennai Metro Railways. This has come, I think, very recently, probably a few months back, March 2021. You can see here, look at this relevant code, the compliance codes. They are saying IS 3043, Code of Practice of Earthing, BS 7430, Code of Practice of Earthing. I don't know whether what they mean is IS 43 is a part of BS 760 or whatever it is. Then they say BS 7671, then they say IEEE, IEC, NBC. You see, the only standard which is replying is the NBC, National Building Code. Unfortunately, the subject of this tender is not included in NBC. So basically, the name given here is just for the sake of putting a name. Otherwise, it has got no meaning. So they basically, if you check, the tender is asking for compliance with all other standards other than the Indian standard. And they finally also have written IS 3043. And the funny part is, if we go through the tender, these pictures, you see there is a transformer. Neutral of the transformer is going to 2 earth pit. This transformer, another 2 earth pit. There is a DG 2 earth pit, body of the DG 2 earth pit. So what does this mean is, the tender, the whole tender specification still follows the 2 for neutral, 2 for body earthing, the same, that old concept, which actually doesn't exist in IS 3043 or the CEA regulation or any other Indian standard, or not even in these IS, BS and IEEE standards. Nowhere this method of 2 separate neutral earthing, 2 separate body earthing, this is never written in any of these standards. Now, if we go and ask the tenderer, how can you make this mistake? They will say, no, this is written in IEEE 1000, ISO 1461. They will say something and simply escape from the responsibility. Technically speaking, from a good implementation point of view, they actually has to cancel all these standards and simply write IS 732. One standard reference is actually enough for this particular installation. We have made a blog. It is available in our website. Please go through the blog. In the blog, you can download these drawings, these specifications, and all these documents which I am referring to. But what is shown in this picture, DG earthing, 2 separate for neutral, 2 separate for body, this is absolutely wrong. Now, a small example. In the tender specification of the Chennai Metro, they have mentioned IEEE, several IEEE standards. Now, I'm just showing you from the IEEE website. IEEE website standards board, if you look at that part, they say IEEE standards are classified as standards, means documents with mandatory requirement. A recommended practice, that means documents which produce procedures and positions preferred by the IEEE are presented. That means this is IEEE's their preferred methods. Guide, documents in which alternate approaches to good practices are suggested, but no clear recommendations are made. Please read it again. Guide, documents in which alternate approaches to good practices. That means it is not the good practice, it is an alternate approach to the good practice are suggested, but no clear-cut recommendations are made. So I hope it's very clearly written in the website. Then trial use means the old document. So guide, please make a note of it very carefully. Now, what kind of documents are there in IEEE? You can see some of the IEEE standards are the nationally accepted. In America, it is accepted as the national regulation. It is the one is National Electrical Safety Code, which is the regulation for transmission and distribution of electricity. It's an IEEE document. That is a standard, of course. I think this is how they do it. But the second and the third part, I am very clear. IEEE 142 and IEEE 1100. These are IEEE recommended practice. So it's not a standard. It's a recommended practice. Now come to the third one. IEEE Guide for Safety in Substation. It's a guide. Guide is an alternate method to achieve safety. This is IEEE 80 is a guide. Now, also you please understand that IEEE is a guide which never mention the applicable voltage. Up to what voltage this guide is applicable is never mentioned in this guide. And it says AC substation grounding. In America, AC substation, the definition is very well known. So they know how to use it. Whereas this standard is misused in India and put for tenders like our metro railways, which is of national interest, and the whole thing is spoiled. Let me show you how it is spoiled. In America, substation 66 kV, they have HVDS, high voltage distribution system. Every consumer premise will have a small transformer, 20 kV primary and 120 or 240 volt at the consumer premise. In America, IEEE uses IEEE 80 is used for making the grid to reduce touch and step potential at this place. Whereas in India, we use the same touch and step voltage reduction measures at this place, 11 kV input and a 230 volt. We take the fault current of the 230 volt system and try to make it. How this is shown, you see here, the annexure of this particular tender, main earth mat calculation. You can see here, system voltage 0.415, 400 volt. System LT fault current, 5,000 ampere, 50 kiloampere. 50 kiloamperes of fault current is going to flow at 415 volt. So they don't even understood they don't even imagined about a TT system. In a TT system, if you have two earth electrodes or one ohm each, then your fault current is not even more than 125 amps. So here the system is selected for 50,000 amps. You see here the heading. This is a software simulated report based on IEEE 80 for 415 volt application. Now you see all these calculations. So many calculations. Our engineers are always impressed with this calculation because they feel that calculation from computer will save our electricity or save our installation. This is the feeling. But now you see here, GPR for fault at LT system. That means fault at the low voltage system, is creating a 415 volt. That means basically line to neutral, line to earth fault, probably 230 volt fault is creating a ground potential rise of 15,000, 15 kV, 15.672 kV. So this much voltage at 230 volt fault is creating. It looks really funny. Now, how we can apply this? The fault voltage is 230 volt. GPR is 15,000 volt. All of you knows that there is an earth electrode, and each earth electrode has got an influencing area. Whenever there is a fault current flow through the earth electrode, GPR or voltage gradient is created, and according to this IEEE calculation, GPR in this particular case is 230 volt is creating 15 kV ground potential rise. That means from the earth electrode to the surface of this influencing area, you will get a potential difference of 15 kV. That means 15 kV is created due to a 230 volt fault. This is fantastic. Very good idea. This idea can be used for, updating, stepping up the voltage. More than earthing, it has got so many other applications. If you wanted to increase the voltage, you put an earth electrode and send the current through the earth, your voltage will be increased. So this kind of ideas are propagated in the market. This is called as propaganda business. Who propaganda? This is a lot of software companies, those who are having IEEE software. So in the tender, it is written, you should submit, the vendor should submit the calculation as per IEEE in a particular software. And that particular software is sometimes 30 to 40 lakh rupees worth. That means the only few vendors are eligible to participate in this tender where this is not at all absolutely required. That is the point. For this tender, which is for a 230 volt application, not the IEEE 80 is not at all applicable, but because of unawareness, such points are included, and this is we call as propaganda business. Please don't run behind this propaganda business. Try to follow our national standard. For example, another propaganda business. As I told, 60364 in America, NFPA 70, NFPA 7 without compliance to NFPA 70, you cannot run your building. NFPA 70 compliance is 100% mandatory. In addition, there are standards like NFPA B, C, D, E, F, and all these things. So I think in NFPA 70, E or D, somewhere arc flash study and thermography are recommended. But please understand that the building has got NFPA 70 mandatory. Over and above, you do arc flash study and thermography to make your building more safe. Whereas when it comes to India, NFPA in several industrial buildings, of course, the arc flash studies are made as per NFPA 70. It's a propaganda business, but the basic, the fundamental testing as per NFPA 70 is not carried out. This means the fundamental testing recommended in IS 732 1989, 10 testings are included in 1989. These are unknown in the market. So we are not doing the fundamentals properly, and we jump behind the propaganda business and run behind these the modern the bigger testings. Wherever we attend nowadays the electrical safety trainings by industry, they always recommend to go for arc flash study, and they always go for thermography. But once when we ask, have you tested fault loop impedance and found out the tripping time of your MCB? The very basic, the simplest test, then they say, oh, what is fault loop impedance? We don't do all these small things. We do only the biggest thing. So please understand that what is written in IS 732 is the fundamental basic requirement. So I put it, the basics as per NFPA 70 is unknown, but we always call. So this is called as propaganda business. So our regulations and rules must be free from such propaganda business. Anyway, let me go to the regulation number 38. Provisions in regulation 38 for buildings more than 15 meters. Earlier it was regulation number 36. Due to two additions, the number has been increased. So there are two additions: fire retardant slow smoke cables and using bus bar trunking for high-rise buildings are recommended. But I think the sub-regulation numbering, there is a small mistake. Both are 6, probably to change, or I don't know, maybe this is A and B. Then lightning protection shall be as per 62305. Electrical verification, please note at the sub-regulation number 10, electrical safety verification of the installation at the time of construction shall be as per IS, sorry, it is missing something, little bit is missing. It is as per IS 732. Oh, it's there on the previous, you can see it here. The sub-regulation 8, electrical safety verification of the installation shall be done as per IS 732. So my request to every house, every high-rise building is, if this when this regulation comes into picture, before doing thermography or this arc flash and all these things, so first you do the test of IS 732. Over and above, you can do whatever you want. Then here, the hospital safety is also included somewhere. You see here, I think I skipped that particular part. Hospitals also should do testing as per the IS 732 is mentioned somewhere. Then regulation number 42, which is chapter 5. The earlier regulation was regulation 40, test of insulation. It was asking for insulation resistance test, but now in the new regulation, it is changed to has applied the tests as per IS 732 part 6. That means all the tests are becoming mandatory, not only the insulation resistance test, but all the tests. This is a major change. Regulation number 41, the earlier 41, currently 43. This is the biggest confusing subject, earthing. On the first part, you can see the voltage 1000 volt and 1500 volt DC. The earlier 650 has been removed now. The major change in this regulation is sub-regulation 1. Earlier, the regulation was asking to connect a neutral conductor to two separate and distinct earth electrodes in soil. This was actually creating the biggest confusion in the market. Actually, this regulation was talking about neutral conductor in a public distribution system, not about the neutral terminal of a transformer or a DG, but a neutral conductor in a public distribution system. But however, in the new regulation, without any confusion, it is modified. It shall be earthed as per IS 3043. Very clear. So IS 3043 section 4 already have this particular clause. You should do as per IS 3043. Similarly, the other major changes are, so many sub-regulations are removed in this particular case. In a DC case, you should do as per IS 732. Every building, please look at the regulation number 5. Every building shall have protective equipotential bonding by interconnecting exposed and extraneous conductive parts as per IS 732 and IS 3043. I would say this is one of the most important change in the regulation. Globally, electrical safety in a consumer premise, protection against shock is achieved by protective equipotential bonding, number 1. Number 2, automatic disconnection of supply. So the safety measure is called as fault protection by protective equipotential bonding and automatic disconnection of supply. Whereas protective equipotential bonding was rarely carried out in Indian buildings. Now the regulation had very clearly written it. As a result, the electrical inspectorate or the electrical inspectors, they will verify the integrity of these the reliability of this particular bonding. However, if you do all the tests, it is automatically included. Now, the frame of every generator and the motor, it shall be done as per IS 3043 and IS 732. All of you know that in the figure 38, 39, 40, 41 of IS 3043, the generator earthing, including neutral, is given. You can refer those pictures. Now, all earthing systems shall have the first one is equipotential bonding conductor, the conductor to carry 100% fault current. Number B, you please read it very carefully. Earth fault loop impedance shall be maintained sufficiently low to permit adequate fault current for the operation of protective device within the time stipulated in IS 3043. Very important. The simplest method, the initially I mentioned, in industry, if we ask, have you checked the fault loop impedance and ensured that your MCB is tripping within the time, then people ask us back. We never do it because mostly it is unknown. Now in the regulation, this has been included. You have to be careful. Then the supplier, all earthing system belonging to the supplier shall do the testing of these earth electrodes. Now you please read these three clauses, very important. 11. Earth fault loop impedance shall be tested to ensure automatic disconnection of protective device, and a record of every test made and the result thereof shall be kept by the supplier for a period not less than 2 years after the day of testing, and shall be available to the electrical inspector when required. So this sub-regulation is talking the responsibility of the supplier. Energy supplier should do this test and keep the record. How they have to do it? They have to have a fault loop impedance meter. They have to go to the consumer premise. They have to test it and put it on the record. This is the correct method. Similarly, the second one, earth fault loop impedance of each circuit shall be limited to a value determined by the type and current rating of the protective device. What does this mean is the consumer, the user of electricity, either the chartered electrical engineer or whatever, the consumer should ensure that these testings are carried out as a part of self-certification. So the supplier's responsibility is there, consumer's responsibility is there. Now then item number 3, where multiple sources are used in the same installation, like transformer and DG with changeover facility, fault loop impedance shall be tested for both the sources, and automatic disconnection of supply shall be ensured. So not only for, because once when your source, type of source changes, the impedance of the circuit changes. Probably an MCB will trip at during working with a transformer supply, but it may not trip during a DG supply. So what it is required is you should test for both. The next regulation, regulation number 42, I will go a little bit quickly because in between we had some small disconnections. The supply of electricity, earlier it was talking about in a typical fashion, but let me go to the new one. The use of electricity. Please understand the difference. Supply of electricity means it is the responsibility of the supplier. Now, the use of electricity, that means whenever you start using electricity, that means at the point of commencement of supply, to every electrical installation shall be controlled by an RCD whose rated residual operating current shall not exceed 30 milliamps so as to disconnect the supply instantly on occurrence. So basically, at the point of commencement of supply, every installation shall have a 30 milliampere RCD. Earlier it was some confusion. Up to certain kilowatt of the load you need it, below that you don't need it. All these things are removed. Very simple. Every installation you should have an RCD. Also, please read the second para of this regulation. Provided further that such protective devices shall not be required for overhead supply line having protective device which are effectively bonded to the neutral of the supply transformer and conforming to regulation 76. Actually, here overhead supply I just striked out because nowadays more than overhead supply, underground supplies are also there. So probably removing this is improving the standard. Now, what this says is, second para says, In case of a TN system, if the supply is TN system, RCD is not required. So this is very important because you cannot run a small scale industry or an industry with 50-60 kilowatts of load having lot of electronics with a 30 milliampere RCD at the point of commencement of supply, because RCD will create nuisance tripping. Whereas if you look at the second part, in case of a TN system, you don't need to use RCD. What is TN system? TN system is recommended in the regulation for the electricity supply company. So basically, we have the option. Instead of 76, I think this is a spelling mistake, probably 74 is correct. And instead of protection device, supply lines having a protection device which are effectively bonded. Protective device is not bonded to neutral of the supply. Protective conductor is bonded to the neutral of the supply. Small changes probably are essential. The regulation number 74, earthing. You know very well, this part of the regulation talks about continuously earthed by providing a continuous earth wire. What does it mean is at the distribution, any voltage, any distribution below 33 kV, the energy supplier is supposed to provide a continuous earth wire. That means it is like a 5-wire system, 3-phase neutral, and the 5th wire is a PE conductor. So that means in a 3-phase supply, I am just showing some of the regulations, the old regulations, which this subject is explained. Regulation number 14, 15, 16. Regulation number 15 is explaining about the cutout and link. Regulation number 16 is talking about the earthing electrode, and all these the TNCS system, TNS system are explained in this regulation. It means there is a metallic fault return path in the distribution. In case of any fault at the distribution or at consumer premise, sufficient fault current returns to the source through the metallic fault return path. As a result, easy identification of the fault is possible and disconnection is quite easy. That was the idea behind these regulations, and that is what is written in the standard. But what do? In most of the consumer premise, this is missing. The link TNCS to TNS link is missing. As a result, the actual network becomes TT. So if it is a TT system, of course, 30 milliampere RCD is 100% necessary. As per the new regulation, also IS 3043, IS 732. Then continuous earth wire for easy fault return of source is also recommended. Also, this part of that regulation also talks about the guarding, how guarding is required, how earthing of each pole has to be carried out, how the continuous wire need to be done and all. But to tell you the truth in our distribution, nowadays, even in road crossings, important road crossings, guarding is missing. During our childhood, every road crossing, there was a guarding. But nowadays, it is missing. On the roadside where crowded places as well, there is no guarding. As a result, in case of any isolation or in case of any mechanical break in the phase live conductor, it falls down and it creates accident. So generally, the supply companies are careless in implementing these regulations. Most of all over India, the supply companies are actually not taking care of the protection of or the safety of people. They do it. They only wanted to pull 3 wires and give the supply to the consumer and get the money. Otherwise, the safety is not important for them. They are only interested in protecting their equipment, not the safety of people. So in a place, if there is a guard wire missing, and if the phase conductor falls down, and if somebody gets electrocuted, if we apply the section 146 of the CEA, the Electricity Act, actually, with a good lawyer, what will happen is the managing director or directors of the energy supply company, they have to be imprisoned up to 3 months. fine 1 lakh per accident and rupees 5,000 per day in continuing the failure of compliance. Actually, if we read our Electricity Act and the safety regulations, in case of accident of a person or an animal or whatever, the responsible people, they are not the small level people like the lineman, they are the top management, because these are policy decisions. Making 100% guard wire according to the regulation, it need money. The smallest officer may not be able to do it. This is a policy decision. So directly the top management of the distribution companies are responsible. And if anybody want legal support on this particular case, please get in touch with us. We will give you technical support in this case. And finally, we can see that the top management is put in they are really put in trouble as per the provisions of the regulations and the rules. Now, one more. I have only one or two more slides. So let me go quickly. Lightning protection, there is a duplication, regulation 46 and 77. Earlier it was 74. So 2 places lightning protection is coming up. In the new added version in 46, the surge arresters shall be connected with 2 independent earthing connections. This is actually a mistake. And above 1000 volt shall be protected against 62305. This is not applicable, because 62305 is applicable only for buildings and structures, not for high voltage transmission line or distribution line. So there is already an existing regulation. And in this existing regulation, the first paragraph is perfect, but the second paragraph, there is an issue. All of you know that in distribution, the earth lead wire of the distribution is taken parallelly, and longer wires are used and so on. But you refer to the IS standard 15086. A lot of new methods are being implemented, so you are supposed to make those provisions. In fact, I have one slide which I have hidden. Let me show it to you. What is written in the IS standard? In the IS standard, lightning arrestor, there are 3 recommended connections. The first one is like the system which we follow right now from the high voltage line. This is the zinc oxide varistor. This is the transformer. The earth wire goes parallel. You see L3 is longer wire, L5 is longer wire. As a result, what happens is, during a surge current flow, due to the surge impedance, there is a huge potential difference created. As a result, the effective protection level is not achieved. Your transformer will be in trouble. Whereas the second method, the surge arrestor body, the earthing is connected to the body of the transformer. This is an improved method. And the third one is the very good method. These are explained in the IS 15086 part 5. Please go through the standard and understand it to do it. So preferably, I would suggest that the second para of this regulation 77, second para has to be modified as surge arrestor shall be selected and erected as per IS 15086 part 5. So with this, I make a stop for my presentation. Let us go back to the panel discussion. One moment, please.
Mr. Gopakumar, excuse me.
Sir. Yes, sir.
A little one point is coming to my mind. I think in the present regulations, regulation number 35, I hope you must have received question on that. But still, because I may be leaving after 5 minutes, I'm just giving it to the notice, putting it to the notice of the Honorable Appavoo sir and to you, that this may be thought of. The language of regulation number 35 may be interpreted in that way, that whenever an ST supply is given, after the CTPT unit or metering device, supply can be directly connected to the breaker. Because in case of ST supply, a breaker would be sufficient. That is what one can transpire from the language of the regulation. According to the electrical engineering fundamentals, every breaker has to be associated with an isolator. So in case of maintenance of the breaker, there has to be an isolator prior to the breaker which can be made off and maintenance can be done. So I don't know what is. I have not gone through in detail in the present amendment, but kindly throw some lights on that while discussing the issue. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank
So-
you. I'll be leaving for the time being, sir. And I'll with apology, I'm leaving, sir. Thank you. Well, you have
Thank
made
you.
a very, you have given a very good glimpse of the amendments proposed in the proposed amendments. Thank you for that. Thank you very much, GK. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the question, sir. So, participants, now we will go for the panel discussion. We have Shri Appavoo, sir, Shri Devdas Goswami, Mr. Hemant Sali. So we have made some questions which we took from the list of the questions which we received during registration. First, the questions are to Shri Appavoo. Appavoo, sir, I hope you can hear me. It would be
Yes,
nice
sir.
if you
Yes,
can.
yes,
Yes.
I'm hearing you. Please.
Good,
please
sir.
go ahead.
Sir, the question is, a lot of participants have the confusion about Electricity Act, IE rule, CEA regulation, and what is the role of Indian standard, what is the role of the code of practices and all. This part is a big confusion. If you can clear that, would be very good for a lot of participants. We also have some more. I have two more questions to you, but after this, I will ask the second question, sir.
Okay, thank you, Gopalji. Am I audible?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
audible? Huh?
Yes. You
Okay.
are audible.
Good morning, Mr. Gopalji. I should appreciate you for your continuous efforts in propagating electrical safety as well as practices. And now, okay. The first and foremost question that I think you will be asking two more questions. Let me come to the first question that you raised. It is with regard to the Electricity Act, IE rule, CA regulation, and standards and code. What are the practices? How these documents are working in cooperation. That is what you intend. Okay. Let me go for the first question. That is, see, we all know that every citizen is enshrined under Article 21 to live. That is the right to live. So it derives, actually this article is deriving its life breath from the directive principle of the state policy. That means the state government have to provide safety to the general public according to the directive principles of the Constitution. Specifically, Article 42 and 43 of the Constitution provides and it enables the state government to adopt safety measures. So it means that central government will have to provide a safety under Article 21 and the measures. That is why the Electricity Act came into picture by providing this from 1910 itself. The first act in 1910, it empowers, it provided a body called Central Electricity Board to provide rules for the safety of general public at large. Accordingly, they provided Indian Electricity Rules 1956, after which the Electricity Act 2003 came into picture. According to Electricity Act 2003, under Section 177, it provides powers to the Central Electricity Authority. The Central Electricity Authority is given power under regulation under Section 53 also specifically to provide rules or regulations in consultation with the state government. So that is the aim. That's the principle that Constitution comes first, then the Act provides a safety measure. It entrusted the job to the Central State Authority. In turn, Central State Authority has provided some regulations. So what here, this regulation is invariably quoting the standards because standards and codes as far as our country is concerned, National Electric Code and National Building Code are useful for the regulatory authorities to go for inspection, because regulation cannot provide all the detailed engineering or the specifications. It can just say the important provisions. If there are any conflict between code and what do you mean that standards, if there is a conflict between various standards, say for example IS 732, 3043 and the National Electric Code, the regulation will come out with a standard measure. It will provide a standard measure. In the absence of any specific provision, the regulation will prevail. That is the condition. The regulation shall prevail. What we have done to make these standards, regulations, and codes into effectively, we have to make it effectively. Actually, it has to be, there should be a synergy. Synergy means we have to improve the practices. The practices should be improved. That means we have to adopt the best practices of standards and codes and regulations. The purpose of regulation is to synergize these three things. Coming to the electricity rules, 1956, actually it has been repealed. That we have already discussed. Still many people are saying that electricity rules, it is strongly imprint. It got imprint in that brain that they, whenever they visit, they cite invariably the electricity rules. It has been changed in 2010 itself, and from 2010 the Central Electricity Authority has provided a regulation. Since for example, you have Gopal in his presentation has specified that voltage, high voltage, low voltage, and medium voltage are all varying between state to state and between various regulatory commissions. Actually, I think this regulation have now provided in the draft amendment under the definition section. They have provided. We hope that it will be passed soon, because there may be a confusion between various states, because the act under the definition 235, under definition section 2 and subsection 35, it provides a authority to the Central State Authority. So accordingly, the Central State Authority has now amended the draft regulation 2022, and it was nothing but old IER regulation before the repeal, but it was missing in the subsequent. Subsequently, the voltage, a complex frames were used, above 250, above 650, and above 11 kV. Those are what we can easily say that LV, ME, HV, or EHV. I hope this section, the regulation, will be useful to the people whoever in the field in future. It will be coming under regulation 225. Sorry. Okay, we will deal it with later. And as far as the quoting of various IEEE standards, everything Gopa has observed, it's a good point that we did not quote all the available standards in the world for a simple measure, because people get confused. What we require is, if we do not have anything specifically in our standards or code,
sir, one more.
We can.
One moment. Yeah, sir, one moment. That part will be taken answered by Shri Goswami ji.
Okay.
Shall we go to the next question, sir? The next question is, does the state government have separate rule other than CEA regulation? Why electrical inspectors in state government claim that they have separate rule?
It's a good question. Actually, rules are common. Generally, they say rule. There is no rule. Only regulation, standards, and codes are there. Previously, it was stateless rule. Whenever there is a difference between one state and another state in implementation, people used to say in Tamil Nadu, for example, in Tamil Nadu, they will not permit as per Tamil Nadu rules. It's not a rule. When we rejected, when I was a chief, when I rejected air streamer emission for multi-story building, people invariably quoted in Tamil Nadu, ESC, in Tamil, as per Tamil Nadu rules, ESC is not permitted. It's not a rule. I think it is a way of implementation varying from one state to another state. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Lot of people have this confusion. They say people sitting in Bombay, if they do a project in Tamil Nadu, they say we have to follow the rules of Tamil Nadu CAG. If they do Andhra Pradesh, they say we have to follow the rules of Andhra CAG. Like that, even today, it's a big confusion for people. Sir, also the last question, will this numbering change in regulation affect anyway?
Yes, sure. Actually, the numbers, regulation numbers are deeply recognized by the various forum, implementer, user, as well as the legal authorities. Whenever we say regulation 30 or regulation 43, that sticks to the mind. Unless the regulation is wholly repealed, for example, IE rule was repealed in 2010 and regulation 2010 was promulgated, then IE rule need not be quoted. But even now, if there is a case pending with the Honorable Court, imagine an accident occurred in 2000, before 2010, and it is still pending disposal in the court. We still have to use the electricity rules, the violations. But you imagine there is one more accident occurring in 2015 or 20, and we quote, but what for the same regulation 30 or 43, we will quote two different numbers for the same violation for the same regulation. See, central statute regulation is not repealed. It is only modifying the existing regulation and come out with the new synergized one for a better understanding. You should not confuse the people. There is the implementer as well as user and the contractors and the legal authorities to confuse themselves within the same regulation. In my opinion, regulation number has to be preserved. You can add sub-regulation with the caps A and caps. These are all done in the electricity rule itself, the previous electricity rules. Whenever they want to add a new rule, they will add, for example, 61 caps A or 61 caps B, under which, under the relevant section, they will add the specific sub-regulation, sub-rules. I think that will solve so many issues.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We have one gentleman who has raised the hand. Mr. Edison, we have allowed you to unmute. If you have any points, please explain.
Yes, Mr. Gogomar. Thanks for organizing this type of a meeting on safety regulations. My point is, as per Indian IE Act 53, CEA is the only authorized people to generate regulations. Regulations or rules initiated by individual states are totally wrong thing. So we should have a common platform. A common platform is CEA regulation. This different states not generate their own safety standards and their own regulations in electrical implementations. And I think
yes, this is what Appavoos are told.
Sorry?
This is what exactly Appavoos are told.
Yeah. So that is very important. Second thing, whenever the electrical contractors are getting their defect report after the physical verification or physical inspection of the site, the concerned authority should give us a very clear defect report with the help with the support of regulations and standards. They cannot write their fancy ideas. So, Gopal, are you listening me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Please go ahead. Clear.
Yeah. That is another point. And one more point I have to mention, not related to this current subject, but it is related to electrical installation. In the regulations, we should get a clear definition of earth conductor and protective earth conductor, and that should be added in the regulation. I think it is not added there. We have a confusion between earth conductor and protective earth conductor. That confusion has to be cleared. That part should be cleared. That's all, Mr. Gopal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Edison, for the question. We go to the next question. We have a little bit limited time. The next question, somebody had raised the hand. Please, gentlemen, please wait for some time. We will allow you. The next question is to Shri Goswami ji. Goswami ji, in the draft regulation, there are few places which is not in line with the Government of India's established policy on WTO and TBT agreements. What is your view on that? You have worked for a long time in the TBT agreements and the other rules. Over to you, Goswami ji. If you can switch on your camera, it would be better.
Yeah, thank you, Gopa Kumar.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a very, very important, I would say, a national stake involved here. It's a very, even though it's just one line given there in the regulation. But before going into that, let me just congratulate you. First of all, the organizing this webinar. You must get a lot of feedback. And also the participants, I have a request. This is a very important regulation that is coming up. In fact, it is coming up for revision after so many time of iteration. And it normally takes a very long time. So I request all the participants, do please go through the regulations and send comments to CEA, because anything if you feel missed out, we'll be missing out. So once it is published, because the amendment, again, all these things takes time. Third thing, this regulation, the revised regulation has been brought out with a lot of changes, and I feel all these changes are very good. In fact, it is compared to the old regulation as pointed out by Mr. Gopa Kumar. There's a very nice changes has been done in the languages and many cases. So this is good. CA must have taken a lot of pain for that, but still a lot of mistakes are there and a lot of changes are necessary. I will on my side, I will send my comments also, but I request everybody to do that. Coming back to these questions, actual question, the regulation number, I think it is 249. It says the international standard means IEC/IEEE/EN standard unless otherwise specified. Now, further down the line of these regulations, at many places, they do mention that this has to be complied with like IS 732. In many cases, some product standard has been maintained. Or in case it is not available, Indian standard is not available, then as per IEC standard. In most of the cases, it is mentioned there. But in some cases, they have specifically mentioned as per IEEE this thing. Now, let me just give you a little background about it. WTO TBT does they do mention about that standards, national standards, international standards, but nowhere they mention about what is exactly the international standard means. So it can be IEC, it can be ISO, it can be IEEE. I don't know whether Indian standard would be there as an international standard. If IEEE is a private standard after all. Now, in no other country, possibly in the world, as far as electricity safety regulation is concerned, they do follow other countries' safety standards. I have never come across anything that USA is going to refer to an Indian standard for compliance of the safety, or any European country would refer to an Indian standard. I don't think it is even thinkable also. even from our neighboring country, in most cases, even though they also follow the old British system, in some cases, some Indian standard reference is there, but they are gradually changing over to the IEC standards. So all over the world, IEC is considered as an international standard, as a substitute for Indian standard, where the Indian standard is not available. That should be our stand. The major reason for this is that is not only the safety, as Gopakumar has pointed out, there in many cases there are contradictions as far as requirement is concerned in IEEE standard and our system. We cannot simply follow an IEEE standard or EN standard. Why an EN standard? EN standard is an European standard. IEEE is definitely a very highly acceptable standard. I mean, it is regarded as a very high quality standard, but still, as far as regulation is concerned, we should only refer to the Indian standard. And in the absence of any Indian standard, IEC standard should be followed. In the regulation, we should never mention any other standard other than Indian standard. And that should be because there are a lot of issues of national trade and barriers are involved. You see, through these IEEE standards, a trade barrier is coming into play. Even in India, for any installation, supposing tomorrow one has to go and check the installation, he has to buy an IEEE standard. He has to see is the requirement. He has to interpret the standard. And as far as the IEEE standard is concerned, how we are going to get a clarification? You have to write to IEEE. I don't think this is all these things as an Indian ethos. We should accept this. This is an Indian standard. Wherever any Indian standard is not available, there is nothing stops us in developing a standard for which an IEEE standard may be there. We can go and make another Indian standard for that. We should not refer IEEE and EN standard in the whole regulation, because regulation is a national regulation. It should not be followed. I think that's my answer, Gopakumar.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We have 3 people raised the hand before going to the Sali Ji's next question. Let me add to your answer, sir. But this is personally my view. This has nothing to do with probably the regulations. Actually, there are several influencing factors working to systematically kill our nationalism. Neglecting the Indian standards, which are sometimes our Indian standards are much better than the American, European, or British standard. People don't follow our standard, which is much better, and they go behind the American, European, and British because they think that white skin is better. This is actually spoiling our nationalism. This is my personal view. Companies often do it probably to protect their business interest, but I don't understand why the Indian consultants and contractors, who doesn't have any connection with international agencies, I don't know why they do it. There are consultants or there are designers, those who are proudly, they say, I follow NFPA standard, I follow BS 7671. Once when we tell that, look, gentlemen, there is an Indian standard available, which is latest from IEC, much more better, including some national requirements, then only they realize that there is an Indian standard. It shows that they are not really interested in reading the standards. This is one point. Also, I would like to make a comment here. It's my personal experience. I have been making safety audits in industries for almost now 20 years. With my experience, I would add that 99% of industrial and commercial installations in India, the world electrical safety exists only in paper, especially in low voltage. 99% industrial and commercial installation, the electrical safety word is existing only in paper. More than 75% of the electrical safety written rules in the IS standards are not known. Classic example is 1989 IS 732, the 10 testings, or the 2019, the detailed verification. So I challenged several industries, not even the small one, the leading industries, that I wanted to change this assumption. Please come to me and show me an installation where you did at least 50% of your electrical installation, at least to satisfy 50% of the IS 732 requirements. Nobody is able to show it. Everywhere we go, we are able to see earth farms. So many earth pits. Every earth pit has got the reading mentioned at the top. And luckily, I even had a opportunity to see a photograph of an earth pit, which is in a leading industry, largest industry probably, an earth pit which is barricaded with steel. All the four sides, there is like a boundary wall for earth pit, barricade, metal barricade. So that is the situation. Anyway, I don't want to explain much. Let me, please, sir.
I would like to add one more. You see, as you rightly said, it is a nationalistic because we are a big country. We aspire to be in the top bracket of the countries, and we cannot just simply follow another in the regulation other standards other than Indian standard. Now, Indian standard can be proposed by anybody. So if it is not there, that is not the reason that we should give in the regulation an IEEE standard reference. Third thing, you see, I have seen in many cases, in many projects in India are being executed where consultants or maybe the funding agencies, they put some kind of a conditions that, okay, that they have to follow an IEEE standard, they have to follow an EN standard, depending upon the funding sources and all those things. But there also we should put our foot down. This is all these rules regulation has to be an Indian corresponding Indian rules regulation and standards. Now, wherever these are not there, we will follow the international standard. That is their part of the regulations. Nobody can dictate and should not dictate, and we should not accept it that we have to follow an IEEE standard, even if their funding is coming from some other source, because ultimately safety regulation, it is a national law. It has to be complied with. There is no other things is acceptable. And in the regulation, we must remove reference to IEEE and EN standards. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Before going to the next question to Sali ji, we would like to listen to Mr. Tula Srinivas. Mr. Srinivas, you can unmute yourself and you can speak if you have any question. Mr. Srinivas, your hands are raised. You can unmute yourself and speak. Also, Mr. Davis, you can also unmute yourself, and if you would like to speak, you can speak. Let me go to the next question to Sali ji. Sali ji, please explain about the electrical safety officers in Regulation 5 and Regulation 6. Electrical safety officer in Regulation 5 and the chartered electrical safety engineer in Regulation 6. Over to you, Sali ji. If you can switch on the camera, would be fine.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. This regulation number 5 is for the appointment of electrical safety officers. This is
it possible to switch on the camera?
Yeah, I switched on.
Switched on. Okay. Anyway, we are not seeing. Not an issue, sir. Please carry on.
Okay, yeah, okay. So this is sort of self-regulatory provision which has been expected to follow by the electric supply companies and factories. So what this rule says, the electrical safety officer, all suppliers of electricity, including generating companies, transmission companies, and distribution companies, shall designate electrical safety officer. This is for observing safety measures as per the regulations. So this regulation, subregulation 1 talks about the responsibility of the supply companies, generating companies, transmission companies, and distribution companies. They should appoint a safety officer. In regulation number 2, the qualifications have been given. He shall possess a degree in electrical engineering with at least 5 years experience, or for diploma it is 10 years experience. In regulation first, if you read, it has been mentioned to observe the safety measures are specified under these regulations. But this regulation number 2 talks about the experience, but here somewhere some addition is needed. You should also know the regulatory provisions and statutory provisions which are obligatory on the part of supply companies and generating companies. So that is missing here. Provided a safety officer designated for mines, there is one more provision. There is regarding the mines. They also have some obligations for appointing the safety officer. For every electrical installation, the regulation number 3 says, sub-regulation number 3 says, it's applicable for the factory. This regulation previously was for applicable only to the factory having load of 250 kilowatt. But now in the new regulation that has been, this electrical load has been replaced with 2000 kilowatt, that is 2 megawatt and above, that provision will be obligatory. Here it is said the owner of the installation or the management of the factory, as the case may be, shall designate electrical safety officers under sub-regulation number 1. So here one contradiction may be there. So regulation number 1 talks about the generating companies, transmission companies, and distribution companies. So I think there is maybe some correction may be required here. He should have qualification and experience specified under sub-regulation number 2. Again, here in sub-regulation number 2, the necessary experience in respect of safety as per the statutory provisions that is missing, that has to be added here. If you go further, here one thing more added in these new regulations 22, it has been mentioned that the interval shall not be more than 1 year. In regulation number 30, it has been said at least once in a 5 years, but now here for these companies, factories, where the load is more than 2 MW, the interval of this regular inspection shall not be more than 1 year. So this is the responsibility of the electrical safety officer. He should inspect the installation within his factory premises and keep the record of that. Further, it has been mentioned that this report, he shall maintain the reports in the form 1, 2, and 3 from the schedule number 4. Here is mistakenly mentioned, it is schedule number 2 actually. These are the forms prescribed by the CA regulation. Form number 1 is for LV installation. Form number 2 is for, I think form number 1 and 2 both are for LV installations. Am I right, Gopal? Hello?
Correct schedule.
Hello.
Correct, sir.
Yeah. And form number 3 for high tension installations. But if you check these forms, form number 1, 2, and 3, if you see at the end, there is no provision that safety engineer should sign that report. If you see form number 1, there is provision that supplier or owner or inspecting officer shall sign it. The definition of inspecting officer is not given in the regulation. Previously in the regulation, the draft of 2021, that definition was given. Now it has been removed from the regulation 2022. So who is this safety, inspecting officer? That is not clear here. Here, if safety officer, electrical safety officer is to be considered as a signing authority, that name should be clearly given in the report. Form number 2, if you see, there is mention form number 2 and 3, supplier or owner or consumer. There is no any authority given below this report that electrical safety officer should sign it. There is also no signature of chartered electrical safety engineer in this form. So I think the correction will be necessary here, because in even chartered electrical safety engineer also has mentioned that he should give his report in form number 1 and 3. Chartered, now this regulations number 6 is regarding the electrical chartered electrical safety engineer. For this chapter, this regulation had come in the amendments of 2015. It has been repeated here, and one thing is added is schedule number 14, that is at the end of this document, and where the experience and the qualification has been mentioned in that. Here it has been mentioned that his responsibility will be to inspect the installation and give self-certification under regulation number 32 and 45. Previously 32 regulation was regulation number 30, and 45 it was regulation number 43. 43 is for high tension installations, and 30 is for all periodical inspections. The chartered electrical safety engineer is a very good provision which was made in 2015, because the existing inspectorate wing do not have that much capacity or manforce to do all inspections. As on today, if you see, most of the LT installations are not getting inspected. And as Gopaji had shown you in the initial slide, that maximum accidents are happening in the LT installations. And these installations not getting inspected at all. No, this appointment of this chartered electrical safety or registration of chartered electrical safety engineer is very, very helpful. But that thing is not happening at the speed which it should have been happened. It will be very much good support to the inspectorate wings of respective states that they should get all installation got inspected by the chartered electrical safety engineers. There are a lot of difficulties. I don't know why some apathy is there amongst the governments, why they are not doing this at very fast level. It will be even a very good opportunity of self-employment also for the electrical engineers, but it is getting delayed. This sub-regulation 2 of this regulation 2 says, regulation number 6 says, the appropriate government shall upload the names of the chartered electrical safety engineers as soon as the persons authorized as a chartered electrical safety engineer. I think the Maharashtra government recently uploaded names of the chartered safety engineers. As per last information, there were 2 chartered safety engineers who have registered so far. So this number is very small considering the number of installations we have today with us. So if you want to really reduce the number of accidents, which Gopaji have shown concern about that, maximum accidents happening, and we are not able to do anything. That is because of that, the number of chartered electrical safety engineers shall increase as fast as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone has any questions?
Yeah.
They can ask.
Yeah, can I come in, sir?
Please.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for your clarification. Nicely clarified.
Yes.
I have a few observations here. Gopalji, also I'm suggestion here because a lot of things are missing here even in the regulation. Now, as per the regulation, even in the earlier it was existing that owner, occupier, and all those things are mentioned. Owner, occupier, they can get help from the chartered electrical engineer to submit a test report and kind of things are mentioned there. Now, what I see right in the clause 2, the definition part, the owner definition is given there, but occupier and other things are missing. So maybe something need to be added. This is one part.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is a very important, most important point you have raised.
Because
the owner's definition.
I'm coming there. Now, occupier, in many cases, the owner is not the occupier. So that would be a lot of legal issues involved.
Right.
So there has to be some distinction between owner, occupier, and now if we go to the definition of owner,
right.
Now, definition of owner is also not complete because owner, it talks about is only the owner means the company and body and all the individual who are incorporated, not or artificial person which owns or operates and maintains electric plants and lines. So where is the other area? Even house installations and all other places. So that has to be included here in the owner. And we have to add occupier, and there has to be some distinction.
It is already added in the definition 63 in the new amendment.
Occupier is given there.
Yes. Occupier, yes. Occupier means the owner or person in occupation of the premise where electricity is used or proposed to be used.
Yeah, what I mean to say is occupier and owner definition is there. Definition of owner need to be changed. But the clear distinction between the responsibility and also the say if you go to the punishment or tomorrow if there is a problem, so who is the responsibility? Somewhere down the line in the following regulations in all the clauses, wherever we have mentioned owner, something need to be clearly brought out. This is my first question, first part. The second part, as far as chartered electrical engineer is concerned, if you go, he talks about that the chartered electrical engineer to be registered and all those things to be done. So some process is given there. Now, if you go to the safety measures for operation and maintenance of load dispatch center, it talks about certificate. Some posted as LDC shall be required to be certified the area. So some LDC is there. Now, under that, these certificates to be renewed every 3 years. Now, some certification authority is given there. Some examination is to be done. Now, what about the chartered electrical safety engineer? what will be, I mean, they have some validity period, but whether there have to be, there has to be a certification examination, there has to be a re-examination or recertification. So those aspects also should come here as part of the things. And third about, it talks about that new installations and all these things is to be done, and it is to be at in the regulation 32 mentioned that it is the owner or occupier, they can self-certify. But self-certificate, they say self-certificate, whatever is submitted, the electrical inspector has to accept it. Now, but in going back to the testing area, we said that if it is tested as per the charter by the chartered electrical safety engineer, then no retesting is necessary. So probably some linking is necessary. Probably I have, these are the three few observations as per electrical safety engineers are concerned.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Taliji, we have two people raised the
Yes,
hand.
yes, yeah. See, Mr. Goswami ji has said it is perfectly correct. I already have written a big paragraph on the definition of the owner, because it mentions only about the owner of electrical plants and lines. So I have mentioned to include electrical installation also. If you see the definition of electrical installation, it includes everything. It includes plants and lines also, and it includes general electrical installation also. So I think that that word has to be added in the definition, owner of electrical installation. And again here the owner means a company or body or corporate association. Again here an individual should also be added, individual owner of installation. Because if you consider the owner of a say residential flat, who has rented his flat to somebody else, so who will be responsible here? If the owner is not defined properly, then he cannot be held responsible. In case of consumer, if you say consumer is to be held responsible, many times the name of the consumer on the electricity bill is different and the person staying or the occupier is different. So here again, customer will come, who shall be held responsible to make keep his installation in safe condition. So these few things are needs to be corrected in the regulation.
Sir, we will make a proposal and send to for a modification. We can do that.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And Gopaji, one thing I must tell you, though we have very good regulations, the implementation is not happening and responsibility is not being fixed properly. The pinpointing of responsibility doesn't happen because of loss of this, some ambiguities are there. So there should be some clarity within that. One more thing, the question which was asked to Mr. Appavoo sir is that the difference in the interpretation of the electrical inspectorate wings of the different states. See, in that regard, I would like to mention that the electricity is a concurrent subject and state have some powers to act on that also. The central electricity regulations which have been given by this central electricity authority of the union government, state have powers to make deviations in those regulations as per regulation number 116. So state can deviate the regulations and apply those regulations to the state. So accordingly, if state makes some deviation, then there could be some difference in the implementation or interpreting that regulation. Otherwise, there should not be any variation amongst the state. So I have seen that many times what is happening within a state also, electrical inspector to electrical inspector interpretation is different. So this is also not correct. And the concern which was shown by some of our participants, that is perfect. So this should be removed. So ambiguity, or what we can say, where the electrical inspector takes decision for his jurisdiction. So that should not be limited to his. It should apply to everybody. There should be some uniformity in applying these regulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We will take up, Sir Appavoo, sir. If you please, sir, please make it quick.
So it's a valid input given by the guest. Actually, the interpretation can differ on technical aspects. That is what I meant. Technically, you can't adapt different practices because of awareness, poor awareness among the implementers. Only this happens. We can't say that is the rule. The practice adapted by one electrical inspector and adapted by another electrical inspector or adapted by another state electrical inspector, differing in technical aspects means they are not aware. We can't say that it is a different adaptation. As far as the state powers are concerned, they can do with some administrative measures only, not in the technical aspects. Administrative measures means they can fix the periodicity, say once in 3 years, they can fix the vest the powers to the divisional officers or the circle level officers. These are all the administrative measures only state can do, not with the state technical
Technical
powers.
part, technical part.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That
Sir,
is what I meant. But
yeah,
when we
Thank
do,
you.
when we strongly implement the technical part, they interpret the third party or the consumer interpret it as a rule of particular government. It's not so. It's a standard. When we enforce a standard strictly, they say it's a rule applicable to a particular state. That is happening in our country.
yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes,
can,
sir. Thank
just
you.
a short, quick supplement to what Papa said has rightly said that it should be the technical variations should not be allowed from state to state, but administrative matters should be given. To this extent, I would really agree with you, and I would support this. But then the regulation need to be have a little better clarity on this. So look at the notified voltage. Why it should be left to the state to state? Because it has to be uniform. If somebody is saying 33 kV as their notified voltage, somebody is saying as 11 kV. There should be something should be given there in the regulation itself that this is the, in fact, regulation is the minimum requirement. Some other state can go over and above to that, make it more stringent, but it should not be beyond that. I mean, lower than that. So notified voltage should not be left to the state. It should be specified here, and some other state can go for much stringent measure. That is my observation. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Next week we have the participants from CEA, Director Shri Rathorji and Joint Director, Assistant Director Mukul Kumar. Both of them will join. So probably we can put this point forward to them. But I have actually, after going to some industry and make the advices or the safety classes and all, sometimes I have a feeling that if electrical inspector do not exist, safety would have been improved. Because sometimes most industries say they are the culprits asking for this 2 for neutral, 2 for body and all, or this is the only point which they insist for. Anyway, going back, we have 3 people raised the hand. Mr. Davis, please ask your question as quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gokumar.
Good
And
afternoon.
am I audible, Mr. Gokumar?
Yeah, you are audible, please.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, distinguished panelists. It was very insightful and giving a lot of clarification, all these regulation, rules, and IAS, IEC and all. So I have one question to ask, rather it is a suggestion. Because I have been to almost all the states in India for project execution. And I have come across one particular issue of licenses, basically the wireman license, supervisor license, and the contractor license. So unless and until if I have a Maharashtra license, it's not valid in Orissa. And if I go to Union Territory, then it is something different. And finally, the CEA comes into picture when it is a Union Territory. So is it something being addressed in this regulation, which is coming up in 2022? Because this is one of the major concern, and because of this, many of the installations being carried out without having a proper supervisor license or the contractor license, and some of people try to keep everything in paper, but in practice, I have come across, I do fully agree with Bob Kumar on this. Practical, we are still lagging a lot.
Thank you, sir. Appavoo, sir, can you support in answering this question?
Yes. Actually, the licensing, whether it is a competent electrical supervisor or notifying competent electrical safety engineers or the electrical contractors, are all done by the state government. In Tamil, I can say for Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, there are licenses from wireman helper, and that is wireman helper certificate and wireman certificate for ITA holders and supervisors and qualified supervisors for the EHV substations. Then license also are available for the B, that is the household services, and small LT MSME industries, ESB, and EA for the HV, and ESA for the EHV. So this is the thing that the Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, as per regulation, has provided. The government have to provide such things. Suppose if there is a common license, say for example in some other state, I don't want to point out a specific state. If there is no licensing practices in union territories, they will adopt our licenses. It is their discretion. But it doesn't mean that we can endorse whatever the license possessed by them from different parts of the country, whether it is Northeast or Union Territory, whatever the license given by them need not be endorsed by the particular state who are far ahead in technical competency as well as the implementation methodology.
Sir,
So that is what
yeah.
we want to say.
Yes,
Suppose
sir.
if it is stringently made in the regulation, then only it will come like that road transport authorities, they have provided a One India scheme, a same license. If it is there, then everything, every state will come into a common platform, and the state which is performing low will have to upgrade. Never an electrical safety can't be compromised because of some state which have not made a stringent provision. A state which has made a stringent provision can't go to that level also. That is in the hand of the central government, which is also responsible. It's a concurrent subject, and safety is a state subject. So state will not permit other state licenses unless it is specifically made under a common platform by the central state authority.
Yeah, thank you, sir. But I have a point to make here, because we are talking about Central Electricity Authority regulations here. That means we are doing everything central, and then we have, I do agree with the voltage levels. That is perfectly okay technically. But when you talk about a wireman in Maharashtra cannot work at the same 230 volt in Orissa, I do not, I mean, it has to be made easy. Right? It has to be ease of business. Today, when I am going to a separate state, I don't have a wireman with me, then I try to work without a wireman. And that is a practical implementation issue. So this is only my appeal. My appeal to integrate this, because
it's
it
a
is
good
coming in a
suggestion,
clear
sir.
regulation.
I also have that suggestion.
I draw the attention of clause 31 of the penultimate para, where it says that the license was executed on behalf of only central government, and in case of installation of mines, oil fields, railways, and electrical contractor having license issued by any state government or union territories shall not require license from other state government in which the work are to be executed. But these are all for central projects, mines and oil fields. But it should be, as you are suggesting, should be have some little wider acceptance.
Thank you.
Yes, this is a very correct point. And one thing I
Yes.
would like to add here is that this should happen again in respect of chartered electric safety engineers also, because again registration of chartered electric safety engineers with state government. And in last 2021 draft, I had given them suggestion that the license once given by state should be applicable, should be usable in all other states also. But that not has been taken care of in this 22 version. So again, I will give them suggestion. Let us see what happens.
Yeah, Saliji, supporting your observation. I would only say that let us all make a comment to all the CEA body to make
Right.
a centralized examination system, online examination system for all these charter sector electrical engineer, and
Yes.
and there should be panel approved at the and each state can approve their panel, but at least the examination must be passed, and there should be repeat
Shall I
examination.
add something here? Shall I add the system?
As Mr.
The system followed in the system recommended in IEC 60364, or let us say the system followed in countries like UK. This accreditation system, that means the chartered engineer, there is an engineer, chartered engineer is there. Whereas in India, the chartered engineer itself is not existing. The engineer's bill is still pending, I think, in the parliament. Now, the chartered engineer is an accredited engineer by the common accreditation body. In UK, it is UKAS, United Kingdom Accreditation Service. Under them, there are several bodies, those who are taking care of trainings. There are several bodies, those who are taking care of trainings, testings, and finally, the certificates are issued from the common platform. So that kind of a system is necessary in India. For example, if we look at the equivalent agency who has to do this is the Quality Council of India, QCI. But then the question is, under Quality Council of India, already we have the NABH, National Accreditation Body for the laboratories, National Accreditation Body for hospitals. Similarly, probably a National Accreditation Body for chartered electrical safety engineers would can make the system easy and make it one system followed all over India. Probably
Yeah,
we
that
can
is,
make a suggestion.
yeah, it is already there as far as QCI is concerned. They have got national accredited system for certification. That is there as a personal certification that is there. Here I would like to add it also that even in the whole regulation, the electrical certified electrical designer or consultants is not there. Do they not have any role as far as the whole certification, the whole project execution is concerned? And they don't have any responsibility. Only we need to bring in here that yes, they also have a role and they have also responsibility for it.
Yeah, it is again very important. Let me tell you, Mr. Goswami ji. See, this point I had given in the suggestions of even 2010 regulation draft also, but that was not accepted. I have given this suggestion again in 2021 draft also, that has not been accepted. See, all these consultants are making designs, and design is the foundation of every electrical work. If foundation is not correct, work will not be safe anywhere. So it is most important, but again it is been overlooked. And even if you see the regulation number 12, so design word is not there.
Yes,
Work should be installation, testing, everything should be done, but design, there is no place for design work.
Design is the best thing. It has to be there, and there will be somebody should be responsible for the design.
But
And
why they are not accepting? I really don't understand.
Sir,
Repeatedly,
the problem is,
Yeah.
sir, the problem is if they get a response from only one person or two persons, it doesn't carry big value. For example, in this program, we have about 100 and more than 270 participants were there. Now we have about 180 participants. If 100 people can write to CEA saying that in the new regulation amendment, please make a system which informs or which ensure that uniform chartered electrical safety engineer is made across the country, then if more opinions are there, naturally they have to accept it, because our rules are made by Indians for the Indians. So we have to, all of us should respond, not a few people.
yeah, everybody
And
should write.
Gopaji, one thing,
Thank you.
that this accreditation will be given by some third person or some NGO like authority, like they are issuing licenses of energy auditors. Something should be done in this case also.
Thank
Because
you.
if it goes with the government, again each state government will have different rules. The consultant will not be recognized in other state. That may also happen. So see, I
Thank
have
you.
seen that one consultant was telling me once, my draftsman is now working as a electrical consultant. So these things are happening because there is no base, there is no qualification, there is no criteria of any experience. So this is a very wrong thing.
Sir,
Yeah,
sir, at least
simply
the draftsman knows to draft. Nowadays, mechanical or civil engineers are making electrical design. What is more than that? So leave
yeah,
it.
architect is
So,
approving the electrical design. Yes.
I think I appreciate Mr. Gopkumar for emphasizing one point in the middle of the session, that paper to practical, P2P, and I have been a trainer for so many years, and this is one of the point. Wherever I made an audit, wherever I made a training, I find what is there in the paper absolutely is not on practical. So when we wanted to have a regulation, I think these are some of the key points where we should allow people to be able to do this practical as I mean, adopting to the practicality. One is that they themselves are not doing. Second, we are making it more complicated. So this is only my point. Thank you, Go.
thank you, Mr. Davis. Actually, all the participants, thanks for listening patiently to us. Myself, Sali ji, and Devdas Goswami, we were actually the regular members in the ETD 20. Making last 3 years, we were working for making this National Electrical Code. So if we start discussing some point, sometime for the whole day we will discuss. Anyway, let us go to the next question from Mr. Srinivas. Mr. Srinivas, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Good afternoon, Gopkumar ji. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible, please.
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself, please? Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, sir. I am Srinivas, working as General Manager at Sai Balaji Infra India, Hyderabad.
Please.
my query is rules, regulations, safety audits, everything is happening, sir. I agree with the system. But are we following the design audit, safety audit, something like that in India? Is it practiced? If so, why are the faults and negligence is being done while execution as well as the testing and commissioning? So is it really practiced as per the design or not?
Sir,
And who is going to punish?
as I made the statement in my presentation, the low voltage fundamental electrical design must be as per the IS 732 Code of Practice of Wiring, which includes everything: selection, protection from electric shock, protection from fire, protection from overload short circuits, protection from over voltages, finally selection and erection of the equipment, then testing and verification of the of the total installation. Everything is covered under IS 732. I also made a statement. If I go to an industry and find out whether how many industries are complying to IS 732, my answer was not even 99%. Then how many percentage of IS 732 is implemented in the premises? More than 75% of the safety rules written in IS 732 are unknown in the market, unknown to electrical engineer, lot of not all electrical engineers, sorry, unknown to electrical engineers. So this question itself is already answered. I hope it's very clear.
It's clear,
So,
sir,
thank
but
you.
who is going to punish? Like, is there any system we are going to build
Whenever
in
there is
future?
an accident, whenever there is an accident, please get our help. We will help you in drafting the complaints. We will help you where to post it and how to post it. We can jointly work, and I'm sure that after 2-3 clear-cut cases, the system will improve.
Can I add
sir,
it?
why? Because there should be one
thing,
audit
Gopaji,
government.
Yeah, can I add it here, Gopaji?
Please,
Now
sir.
you see when the lines are crossing and there is a the mesh is required to be given. Something is written there in this regulation, as you have rightly pointed out, that if the affected consumer can ask for, we were talking about putting behind bar all these distribution agencies. Why he has to be affected? Why he can't raise even before getting affected? I mean, safety violation, and anybody can raise that so that everybody is accountable for that.
see, one,
Yes, of course,
I will.
that is also possible.
Can I answer this question?
Yes, sir.
See, our act doesn't allow ordinary person to lodge any complaint. Only electrical inspector or supply company can lodge any complaint. So if ordinary person has to make any complaint, he should go to electrical inspector. Electrical inspector has to take cognizance of that. He has to act on that. Then only it will happen. So ordinary person cannot make any complaint. There is no provision in our present Electricity Act.
Okay.
See, our laws are very strong. If you see the regulation number 146, which Mr. Gopal Kumar has already mentioned, if you read the regulation number 149, it states how the responsibilities are getting fixed. If you see the regulation, I mean section. If you see section 150, that is for applicable for abatement. If you support any act in contravention with the electricity regulations or safety, that person is also can get punished. So all provisions are there, but this is not happening. Why this is not happening? Because the responsibility getting fixed, there is no structure we have. If you see, Gopaji, if you see the 60634 part 5 part 56, see there is one form which gives the declarations. Every person has to give declaration, the work which he has carried out is as per so and so, and that declaration is there. So this form has recently been to some extent added in our new draft 2022 certification of chartered electrical safety engineer. So he has to certify that the installation is as per so and so. But he will sign that certification, but the checklist, if you see, there is no sign of that chartered electrical safety engineer on that checklist. Owner has to sign that. How owner can sign that checklist? How he can give the technical details of that form 1, 2, and 3? How he can sign that? There are so many things why we are not able to implement our regulations and rules properly.
Okay, thank you, sir. As somebody answered, we have to use the constitutional rights of the citizen. Of course, it will work out. So we have one more gentleman raised the hand. Mr. Suresh Chandra, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Probably the time is now 1:08. In next 10-15 minutes, we will close. Maybe 1:15 we will close. Mr. Suresh Chandra, please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Thank you.
Sir, you have again mute. You are on mute now.
Oh, thank you very much, Gopaji and others, for giving me a chance. I just want to say some few points on this.
Sir, before that, one moment, sir. Sir, before that, one moment. Let me introduce Mr. Suresh Chandra in the name. This is none other than the Principal Chief Engineer of Orissa Electrical Inspectorate. Last week, we had a fantastic awareness program in Orissa. He has organized electrical safety cartoon competition for 5,000 school children. And then there were some poems, and then there was a full day safety awareness class for about 400 plus participants, and it was fantastic. Over to you, sir. Congratulations, and this was excellent effort by Orissa government, sir. Thank you very much. Please continue, sir.
Thank you very much, Gopaji, for your kind presence, and you also gave a very good report. I just collected the feedback, and all the participants were spellbound to know what electricity is and what are the electric safety features are there. They didn't know earlier. All the people of the discoms, all the people of the transmission utilities.
We will help them, sir. We will give
getting out there once ordinarily. And once you all showed from Amalji, from when there was a hunger arise between them to know the facts. At least they got the highlight of it. I think in our next programs we can highlight it more. Just a minute. I am grateful to you and to all to see authority Gautamji. He also came and he also interacted with our principal secretary and minister, and everybody was proud that I am actually really proud that I am that our organization CA is behind us. And this one, all the in state government also and other officers, they didn't know that CA is behind us to implement rules and regulations. That is the big prospect. That is the big advantage we got. Now, I want a few questions. I want to say that in 2005 electricity rules, appellate cases were described. Appellate cases for consumers. In the regulation, although says 2005 rules, appellate cases after 2010 CA regulation, we say that 2005 is already repealed. So how the appellate cases, the issues of appellate cases can be handled?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Another thing I want to say that accident inside the premises. Any details, any points may be specified how to handle the accidents inside the premises of the buildings. Generally, those are not left unreported. And Illicit Act, as per Illicit Act, only discoms shall intimate, and discom are not supposed to involved in taking responsibility of the accidents inside the premises. And third one is that authorization of inspection. We have in Electricity Act, we have provided Odisha, all the states can authorize any independent body for inspection works. But can you imagine the same body, the same utility or stakeholder are being authorized to inspect their installations? How can it be possible? In urban areas like Delhi and Bhubaneswar, like that, it is possible because the installations are right in the eyes corner of the electrical inspectors as well as the utilities and other stakeholders. But in rural areas like Odisha, It is not possible. Practically, it is not possible. They cannot do. Only electrical inspectors, we are moving in rural areas. We were rendering our service. And by that way, we had some control. So these things are being exploited. Such a way, our electrical inspectorate is becoming weaker day by day. And accidents are also occurring accordingly.
Yes, lot of
These are
challenges are there, sir.
lot of problems are there. Practical, I'm talking about practical. As far as inspection fees is concerned, there is no clear-cut specific indication of waiver of inspection fees. And so that everybody also moving to the court that electrical inspection fees is not written in the CA regulation, and why should you claim it? And this is also has not been made clear.
Yes, yes, yes.
Actually,
That means
And
I think
another thing, there is no in CA regulation, there is system of a procedure for issuing letter of credit. There should be some clear cut vision in the CA regulation, because everybody is making their SOP of their own and not even checked or approved by the electrical inspectorate. That way, accidents may occur and are also occurring at present.
yes.
Sir,
Thank you,
in
thank
this-
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So these are
Saliji,
Yeah.
Saliji, can you answer regarding
very
the
much.
litigation part?
See, regarding this inspection fee in Indian City Rules 1956, I think it was rule number 7 through which we were able to charge the inspection fee, but that rule did not appear in 2010 version of regulation. So there was no base to charge the electrical inspection fee. This matter was we also handled. I was at that time in Inspectorate wing of Maharashtra, and by the time the public approach started, before that we stopped charging electric inspection fee because there is no such provision and there is no even any supporting section in the Electricity Act so that we can charge the electricity fee, inspection fee. So this presently we can treat it as a public service, like police is giving to the public, like such sort of service free of charge we are giving to the public. So it can be treated like that only. What was another point here?
What about the chartered
Litigation.
electrical engineer? What about the chartered electrical engineer? He can charge? cannot
Chartered
waive fee.
engineer, yes, chartered electrical engineer, he can charge the fee, but the scale given in that guidelines of CA regulations, I have heard that that scale is very, very small. Through that charges, it is very difficult to carry out the inspection. So that is the again issue.
What about the appellate case? What about the appellate cases?
Appellate case. Saliji, about appellate case.
Appellate case, you mean under 127?
Yeah.
So 127, I think there are provisions to charge the, the penalty amount, some percentage of penalty amount they have to, they can charge. That provision is there.
But it should be reflected in the regulation.
So it has not come to the regulation. I think the states have been given some powers from under section 180, through which the states can make the rules. So again, there is one difference in rules and regulations. Whatever the rules are made by the government directly, those are called rules, and whatever the rules made by the authorities, which are not directly government, those are called regulations. So state have some powers to make the rules, and in that list of rules, there is no provision such actually for the inspection fee. But for this, I think 127 cases, some percentage of that money, it has been mentioned. I think again, it depends on state to state, how much is to be charged.
And another authorization of inspection to the same stakeholder.
What? No, I didn't snare your question.
Authorization of inspection.
Uh-huh.
As per Electricity Act, government can give declare electrical inspectors.
Yeah. It's state government.
How can you declare inspection of the same stakeholder?
Actually, again, that discretion, there are no clear guidelines.
Yes.
The regulations says once in 5 years. Some installations are inspected annually. Some installations are not checked even in 5 years also. So that is happening.
No. I think
Yeah.
what
Sir.
he has made a point is about the independence of the electrical inspectors. There is something mentioned in the I think it is the chartered electrical engineer
No,
that
no.
he should be independent. He should not be connected with the supplier, or he should be connected with
See,
the
Exactly, exactly.
again, if you want some legal sanctity for that, the regulation number 5, this electrical safety officer, there is one provision, and a regulation number 6, chartered electrical safety engineers. These two persons can inspect the installation, and whatever they write, it has some validity. If some audit is done by any private agency who is not registered anywhere, there is no accreditation for him. I wonder whether his report will stand in the court, because he doesn't have any authority to
Electrical
make audit.
inspectors of the same stakeholder, electrical
Yeah.
inspector for the same stakeholder should not be allowed.
Yeah, it should be come out in the regulation. The regulation should come out very
And
clearly.
if he is allowed, he should have separate control that they inspect, that their inspection wing should have a separate control by us.
It
Yes,
should come.
Yes.
In
Thank you very
independence.
much, sir, for the healthy discussion. Lot of discussion, lot of subject, lot
That
of
they are
nice
taking the
conversations.
advantage. That they are taking the advantage and getting the money up to 11 kV lines charge. Okay, it is well and good in urban areas because we can look after it. But in rural areas, you cannot go, even you do not know how.
You see that as far as inspection is concerned, it is a guiding principle. There are standards even are there. It has to be an independent authority. It cannot be the same authority cannot inspect at their own premises.
Exactly. I meant to say that. That should be
And
written
that
in the regulation.
regulation, it should
Yeah.
come out very clearly in the regulation.
Regulation.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We will note down all these points and try to make a proposal
Another small
probably.
thing. Another small thing, insulated wires, the testing parameters may be expressed in an annexure as far as insulated wires are concerned.
Okay.
Small annexure means it will good. They will follow the CA regulation and they won't go to IS course to find out which.
Insulated wires for
our CA
distribution.
regulation should have almost all the complete data and restrictions and parameters, standard parameters, almost.
Insulated
So
conductors
that
are
we can
very
refer in one.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for all of you for this healthy discussion. We will make a proposal, and probably before next week, once when we join the coming Saturday, the continuation of this program, we will try to circulate something. Let's see if it is possible. So thank you very much, all of you.
Thank
Now
you very
we have
much,
one more. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, sir, the program which you have made was amazing, and the hall was excellent. Super.
No. Just I am fresh to the organization. I have completed only 2 months.
I have also heard that the Odisha program was really very successful and it was really wonderful. And congratulations.
Yes.
We were about 12 to 14 number of activities, including painting and everything.
Yes.
Holding
So, sir, with your
our videos are running in TV now in Odia channel TV. I had prepared 10 videos of my own idea. Thank you very much. Thanks for your coming. Thanks for your coming.
With your able leadership of yours and all the other.
I shall try my best. I shall try my best.
Yes, you should. We can do much better, sir.
With the support of all yours. You know, our accident has reduced this year to the minimum of 68 only. Fatal cases.
That's great. So, thank you, sir. We have another question, another gentleman, Mr. Chris Theobald.
I am going to provide our Suraksha Sandesh to anyone who is interested. May have a call to me.
Thank you, sir. If you can share the link in the chat, we can do it.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chris Theobald, you have asked for some. You have raised your hand. Please, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, Mr. Kumar. Hi to the other panelists. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
So before I say thank you all for organizing this, it's been very valuable. So, as Mr. Kumar said, I am one of those people that constantly refer to the British standard. That's because that's the standard I'm trained to. So, while I agree with Mr. Goswami about not referencing IEEE and EN standards because they're not exactly applicable to the Indian environment, I am very curious as to why we are referencing certain IS standards such as 12640 and IS 609472 when the IEC standards are already existing?
If I have understood your query,
Yeah.
you see, for any regulation or for any requirement, everybody is expected to refer to the Indian standard. That is the first. If there is no Indian standard, then you go to the IEC standard. It is not the other way around that an IEC standard is there, so why I should have an IEC standard? The
No,
Indian standard is for Indian application.
I understand that completely, and which makes sense.
Mr.
But
Krish, I think your question is regarding the RCD, the voltage dependent RCD. Am I correct? This
yeah,
is the standard you are referring to.
that it is about that as well, and even about certain things like MCCBs. For instance, there are so many players like Hager, Eaton, ABB. All their products are IEC 609472 certified. They are
Yes.
not IS IEC 609447 certified. So can we use them?
Yeah, the ISIC means it is then exactly IEC standard has been adopted as Indian standard without any change. So that means if they have got a certification as per the IEC standard, then it is automatically it complies with the corresponding Indian standard. It is an
So that
obvious.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is that, let's say I have a Hager MCCB. Okay, I have one sitting in front of me right now, and that has a IEC 60947 marking on it, but it doesn't have a IS 60947 marking because the standard is an exact adaptation.
No, there's two. Marking is different because you see, you have got a Hager, you may have got an approval from VDE. Now, so they have got a VDE approval, but in India, the corresponding switchgear is, as per the regulation, is another regulation. It's a mandatory implementation of the IEC 947-2 probably is there. So they have to get a separate certification from Bureau of Indian Standard to get their ISI mark. That is a marking is a different aspect altogether. But compliance can be established. If it is a complying with IEC, then it is automatically we can say that yes, it will comply with the IEC standard. But for
So,
getting a marking, yeah, please.
sorry to interrupt. So just with a 60947-2 IEC marking, can the product be used?
That is, the IEC marking cannot be used until unless it is also certified by BIS standard. If it is under the mandatory regulation, it cannot be used. You have to get an approval from BIS.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. The other question, like Mr. Kumar said, was about the voltage dependent RCBOs. That was a discussion I had with him some time ago as well. But yeah, you're right about referencing Indian standards in Indian standards. I don't. It's just that it creates a barrier for safety, in my opinion, when you are requiring an ISI mark for something that is already complying with IEC 609472.
I think we can have a discussion in private about the barrier because this is the part of the trade barrier applicable for every the European standard in Europe. Can we export an Indian ISI marked product to the Europe? You cannot do it.
No, you
Can
cannot.
export?
But ideal.
You can you export? Can you export to China? They have got 10 different rules and regulations you have to comply with. So where is our Indian manufacturer? So that means every country has got a protectionism kind of a trade barrier. These are called all non-tariff barrier. So in non-tariff barrier is applicable as Indian countries, Indian companies, Indian establishment, we also have a right to put all these conditions. So these are safety requirements. They have to comply. If it is under mandatory certification, that means they have to get a BIS certification, even though he may have a certification from VDE or maybe an American status. That's an independent thing. It's altogether different game. We can have a separate discussion on that.
Okay, we can have a discussion about it. Anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Kumar,
Thank you. We have two more questions. After that, I think it is better to stop at 1:30. Mr. M. Lal, you can unmute yourself and please make your question very quickly. And then after that, Mr. Shine. So by this, after that, we will stop the program. Mr. Lal, please.
Yeah, Amrit Lal here. Good afternoon. This is regarding in so many places the regulation asks for the state government to make notifications, but the problem is most of the notifications prescribed by CA will not be done by the states even after 4 or 5 years. So every notification, such notification should have a time limit where the CA should say that this particular notification should be made within so many months and reported back to CA. Otherwise, this particular thing will not happen. And
In support of what you have said, what I wanted to say, add it here is that the regulation should be self-sufficient. Wherever we want to give in the regulation option for state to differ from that, we can give an addition. In addition, the state, the concerned state can modify these requirements according to through their own rules. But at least by default, something should be given just like a notified voltage. This should be the minimum of 11 kV or maximum 11 kV. However, this limit can be changed by the concerned state, something like that. That is my suggestion.
No, even that they have to do it in a time-bound manner. They cannot take their own sweet time and publish things. That is what my intention.
That also, of course, is very difficult to implement in the government system. We cannot put everything time-bound for the government to work, which is difficult. I feel
No,
that.
even see, taking 4 years or 5 years for a notification, it is not at all justifiable. So if you just keep an open loop, it is not going to help. And can I add another point?
Please go ahead, please.
Okay. Then another thing is in regulation 44, it says for 1000 volt, every installation should have a 30 mA ELCB, RCD, which is, I think it is not justifiable.
You should also read the second paragraph along with that.
Pardon?
That is the first paragraph. The second paragraph also to be read along with that.
Okay. So I have missed
Second
it.
paragraph says such protective devices are not necessary in case of a TM system. Now it is technically correct. So that means TT system, you go for a 30 milliampere RCD, and others you don't need. So please read both the standards. So both the paras. Thank you, Mr. Lal, Amritlal. Mr. Shine, if you have, you can unmute yourself, and the last question, please make it quickly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I am from Kerala. I have only one question to ask because in the regulation, it clearly says about handling of electrical supply lines and apparatus. In that, it says point number 3 in that violation of the subsection A will be treated as an act of criminal negligence under appropriate sections of the Indian Penal Code. So my only doubt, I mean, and the in A it says about part 1, part 2, and part 3, part 4. In part 1 it says about hotline maintenance, and I'm not sure whether the utility is pretty much doing hotline maintenance, except in Kerala we have one hotline maintenance system running in Kalmasheri, but other than that we don't have it in HT or LT lines. So I just because it's an Indian all India level forum, I just want to know whether any other utilities are having HT or LT hotline maintenance. That is one part. And the second question is, so how when the IPC is applied without even having a report of inspectorate, who is the authorized person to decide on these electrical accidents? So it's really going to impact the work culture in the industry. So these are the 2 points which I want to ask.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Shine. Any panelist can answer this hotline maintenance? Sali ji, Goswami ji, Appavoo sir. Hello. So I think, or any other participants who can answer this particular question? Hotline maintenance, is it really carried out in your states? Sir, in Odisha, what exactly is happening, sir? Any idea? Can you share any idea, sir? Maharna, sir? Hello. I think Mr. Shine, there is no answer, but don't worry.
As far as I know, I'm not aware about hotline maintenance in field actually being carried out or not. That part, of course, I'm not aware of. But there are supporting standards are available for hotline maintenance.
No, we have it in Kerala. We have a hotline maintenance team in Kerala. But my question is whether, because since it is part of the regulation, and it's clearly saying that all the line staff shall be trained in hotline maintenance to undergo line maintenance in the first section. So if that is going to, I mean, be implemented, then it is, I mean, is it the end? The other states are also going to support that, and also in the second part, I mean, my main question is whether that is to be implemented in HT and HT lines and LT lines. I mean to say that less than 11,000 volt. And the second part is how the IPC is going to be um, uh, imparted uh, when
Yeah,
there is
yeah,
an
that is.
accident.
Yeah, yeah. So because hotline maintenance is definitely it is harmful and it is can be fatal even for the LT. So the training is
Professor,
training would be
Professor,
training.
Yes, sir. Appavoo, sir. Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and
The
I
concern
believe that.
raised, the concern raised by the participant is quite appreciated because hotline operation is done in every state. In Tamil Nadu also, hotline operation is done in 230 kV and even in ST line also. And it's unavoidable. Quoting IPC for these dedicated people is quite something uh, to be addressed in the regulation. It need not be, because if anything goes wrong, they are
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
some risk, even applying all the PPEs, everything. If one thing goes out of order, then anything can happen. So we can't victimize. This is double jeopardizing people. We can't victimize people who are already undertaking some risky operations. Such a stringent thing can be removed. It can be applied somewhere else. There are so many areas where these things can be applied. And as many of the participants felt, the rules, regulations, codes, standards are all good, but the missing part is there is a missing link, as Gopal Kumar has come out with this missing link subject. There's a missing link we have to avoid. There is no synergy between the implementation and the regulation. That has to be reviewed. There are 15,000 accidents happening in the country. What's a review done by the central level? So this is the thing that we have to address. If the notification of voltage is not done, there should be monitored by the central authority, and the accidents happening, they should come out with the monitoring of the chief electrical inspectors of various states. Just such a check, and even some check by the state head with their subordinate should be made accountable. If everything is made accountable, then the standards, adoption, and trying to seek out what are the international standards, national standards, that will come automatically. In the absence of that accountability only, everything is happening free-handed. That's my opinion. Sorry to say this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Sali ji.
one thing I would like to mention here, when you appoint someone or give him the responsibility of doing hotline maintenance, there is one clause of designation. The person who you designate for that particular task of work, he should have that kind of training and that kind of experience. Then only you should designate him. Without that training, if you give him such task, so that will be a questionable thing. And again, these penal provisions and the provisions as per Electricity Act, like which we mentioned, 146, 149 and 150 are the main punishable, sections which state the punishment. But in penal code, there is no direct correlation between this and that. But if at all the police wants to make some action on him, they must take a report of the concerned authority of the electrical inspector whether he was actually in fault. So even if police take any action as per penal code, in court they can mention that electrical inspector's report. What was the electrical inspector's report? If it is in line with the police action, then it's okay. Otherwise, the person can defend on that.
I think gentleman's comment is related to whether there is a need for making some provision of applicability of penal code in case of a hotline maintenance. Probably this area we need to think about it. Probably there is a need, there is a gap. Probably we need to mention something about it. We can take it up later on. I think we have exceeded the time limit for a long time. Say, Gopal Kumar.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. We thought to finish by about 1 o'clock, but now it looks like, as I said, when we talk on this subject, it will go uncontrolled. So let us stop for the day and join on coming Saturday, 11 a.m. to the part 2 of this program. So on that day, we will have more panelists. Also, the officers from CA also will join. So that your questions can be effectively answered by them. So for the time being, there is one suggestion which I wanted to read out from somebody. Had suggested to make an all India, like an association of electrical engineers, like a society or something like that, so that there can be members and we can all together fight for improvement of this system. It's a good suggestion. Thank you very much. I forget Mr. Lalit Walia. Please make a national level electrical engineer association and can request the CAG and CEA to make necessary changes in the system in place. Thank you. Thanks for the suggestion. So for the time being, let us stop the presentation. Making this association probably is a good idea. Let us think over. So thanks for all the participants. We had a good amount of participants today, more than 250 for a long time, but now it has dropped and probably less than 105 are still there. It shows the interest of the electrical engineers in improving the safety of the situation and to understand the regulation. Before next week, probably we will make some kind of a common improvement, request so that everybody can write to CEA. Let us try. The last date for comments in the regulation are on 28th of February. We have posted the link for
28th of
downloading.
July.
28th of July. Oh, sorry. It's a mistake by me. 28th of July. So please look at the blog which is there in our website where you can download the new draft regulation. These videos and all the question answers, wherever possible to answer, we will try to. Videos will be included. Presentation will be included in the blog by today evening. You can download it from there. Then the question answers, if possible, we will try to make some of the important questions. We will answer some of the important questions in the blog. So by this, thank you very much to all the participants and moreover to all the panelists. Appavoo sir, Goswami ji and Sali ji, thank you very much. Also Maharna sir.
Thank you.
Khoja sir, not
Thank you very much.
Thank you sir. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
We end up this program.